time. It's time for the Billy Flynn Experience.
Thank you for joining me once again to the Billy Flynn Experience. I am your host, Billy Flint. Thank you so much for joining me. Did I say Billy Flynn? Oh, I'm tripping. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us tonight, or joining me tonight, or joining us, all of us that is listening in to tonight's show. We have a very, very interesting show. As the title says, Brittney Griner is free and Nicolas Cage is a great actor. I say that for a reason. But first off, let's it's great that Brittney Griner is free. She was set free earlier today. And it's very interesting. And I say that because she was traded, or I wouldn't say traded, but she was swapped out for a Russian arms dealer, internationally known Victor Anatolovich Bout. Wait a minute. Let me say that again, just to make sure I got this right. The gentleman's name that she was exchanged for goes by the name of Victor Anatolovich Bout. He is an international arms dealer from Russia. And before I go into it, there's a reason why I say, or I included Nicolas Cage in this. But I'm going to play this.
Who is Victor Bout, the Russian arms dealer the US swapped for imprisoned basketball star Brittney Griner? The 55-year-old has been dubbed the Merchant of Death and the Sanctions Buster for his ability to get around arms embargoes. For almost 2 decades, Bout became the world's most notorious arms dealer, selling weapons to rogue states, rebel groups and murderous warlords in Africa, Asia and South America.
No expectations.
His notoriety even inspired a Hollywood film starring Nicolas Cage. Here's what else we know about him. Little is known about his origins. Biographies generally agree he was born in 1967 in Dushanbe, then the capital of Soviet Tajikistan. A gifted linguist, he later used his reported command of English, French, Portuguese, Arabic and Persian to build his international arms empire. A stint in the Soviet army followed, where Bout served as a military translator, including in Angola, a country that would later become central to his business. His big breakthrough came in the days after the collapse of the communist bloc, when he cashed in on a sudden glut of discarded Soviet-era weaponry. In 2007, Douglas Farrar and Stephen Braun wrote a biography entitled Merchant of Death, Guns, Planes and the Man Who Makes War Possible. It reported the following details of Bout's shadowy trade. Bout interwove his arms trafficking empire with a seemingly innocuous logistics business. He appeared to have little in the way of firm ideology, placing business above politics. His clients included rebel groups and militias from Congo to Angola and Liberia. In Afghanistan, he sold guns to Islamist Taliban insurgents and their foes in the pro-Western Northern Alliance. The end only came in 2008, after an elaborate sting operation by the US Drug Enforcement Administration in Bangkok. There, Bout was arrested by Thai police. After 2 years of diplomatic wrangling, Bout was extradited to the US, where he faced a raft of charges, including conspiracy to support terrorists, conspiracy to kill Americans, and money laundering. In 2012, he was convicted and sentenced by a court in Manhattan to 25 years in prison. The Russian state has been keen to get him back ever since. Experts say the Russian state's continued interest in Bout, plus his skills and connections in the international arms trade, hint strongly at Russian intelligence ties. In interviews, Bout has said he attended Moscow's Military Institute of Foreign Languages, which serves as a training ground for military intelligence officers.
Okay, so we have a little brief history of Mr. Bout, Victor Bout. And as you heard the news lady, as she explained a lot of his background, you can see that he was a very, very important arms dealer. Okay, as it said that he put business over politics. So he wasn't really in for the political reason, but he was in it for the money. And that's where Nicolas Cage comes in, because as there was a movie that they made back in the early 2000s. May have been maybe the late 90s, but I would say early to mid 2000s. The name of this, I think it was mid 2000s. The name of the movie was called The Lord of War. And Nicolas Cage played a character by the name of, let me see, what was it, man? Make sure I get this one right. Give me a second here. One second. Okay, the character that he played. It's not pulling up. This is crazy. Come on. Okay, it's not, I can't pull it up. But anyways, he played a character in this movie, goes by the name of Yuri Ortlov. Okay, the name of the movie is called, once again, if you need to Google this, it's called The Lord of War. And Nicolas Cage played Victor Bout, or as they say, loosely played this character. And in the movie, he was an arms dealer. And he sold, after the USSR collapsed, okay, and it became just Russia. Once that had took place, there was just a lot of munition, Army, Air Force, a lot of guns, a lot of tanks that were left behind after the collapse of the USSR. And he was in charge of basically selling these arms to, as the story goes in the movie, selling, weapons to smaller countries, mainly in Africa. And the countries that he sold the arms to were the conflict diamond countries. Okay, so the reason that I'm using Nicolas Cage in this movie is because they wrote a movie about Victor Bout. So obviously this individual is someone of great importance, that they would even make a movie about him, loosely. But it's more tied closely together of what was actually happened in the war, during the or after the Cold War. And the movie basically, again, it was pretty much about him selling war munitions to countries, dealing with governments, corrupt governments. And there was a part in the movie where the CIA was involved also. So we all know that, of course. Yeah, the CIA is involved in proxy wars in other countries to keep the war effort or the war industrial business going. So my question was, when I looked further into this Victor Bout individual, and why would they trade an unknown basketball player? And no, this is no disrespect to Brittney Griner. I'm glad she's out of Russia, but personally, I have a lot of questions. And my question I have goes much further than her so-called title as this basketball player. Unknown basketball player. Unknown team. I've never heard of her. I never heard of women's basketball traveling. I live here in Germany, and I never heard anything about this team traveling through Europe or whatever. Ever since she was held in Russia since earlier this year, February, I think, 2022 in February. That's when everything kind of went worldwide on media. But of course, I didn't hear anything about Brittney Griner until pretty much the summertime. But it really wasn't anything, that big as far as news events. It was just that she was caught in Russia with a vape pen, and that's against the law in Russia. So then we all know how the story unfolds. But my question is that for someone as important as Victor Bout and his history on being an arms dealer, that the United States traded this, you can say, war criminal back to Russia for Brittney Griner? And Russia is still at war with the Ukraine. So we're going to give up someone specializes in weapons or trade, because 9 times out of 10, he still have clients. He's just been on the run until he was captured and brought to the United States. But he's been doing arms dealing for close to 20 years, or a little more than 20 years. So my question is that, is Brittney Griner a spy? Is she a part of the CIA? Because to me, that is an uneven swap. I'll just say it. It's an uneven swap. That they would trade her or swap her for this war criminal to go back to Russia. I'm telling you, you can't make this stuff up. And I find that very interesting. And again, because of Nicolas Cage playing him as a character, that they've written a movie about this gentleman. Hollywood produced a movie about this individual. But they will say it's more than just this particular individual. It's many different characters that they've drawn the character up for Nicolas Cage in the movie. But basically, if you see the movie, you will see the stark parallel, the side-by-side comparisons to art to life. Nicolas Cage playing this gentleman in the movie who's an arms dealer, dealing in the same countries as Victor Bout had businesses with. I mean, the movie is a stark comparison to life, or to his life, to Victor Bout's life. But I say that I think there's more to this story. I think there's a lot more, because I doubt very seriously, I don't know, maybe the LGBT has that kind of power. I mean, maybe they stepped up and demanded her release. The State Department, the Defense Department, Homeland Security, the President, they stepped up and demanded her release. And in conjunction to her release, they make a deal with Russia and say, okay, we're going to release a well-known arms dealer, a war criminal. We're going to release him, give him back to you for Brittney Griner, who's a basketball player. That doesn't make any sense. I don't care how you twist it. I don't care how you spin it or word it. It doesn't make any sense. But again, I can honestly say that, yes, I'm glad that she is released. Get all Americans out of Russia. Because, again, they're still at war with the Ukraine. And that's what that's what makes this whole story beyond comprehension. But again, I'm glad that Brittney Griner is free. She's home. But I'm going to follow this story, and I will be very interested to see how everything unfolds. Because I think there's more to this. As I just keep thinking about it, it just doesn't make any sense. But we shall see. Once again, thank you so much for joining the show tonight, for tuning in. We'll be back with you again soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Safe week. God bless.